Good afternoon and good morning, wherever you are dialing from in the world, and very warm welcome to the first special insight panel of the Norwegian Business Association to discuss Singapore, Norway, and business potential in the maritime cooperation. My name is Cristina Saenz de Santa Maria. I'm Regional Manager for Southeast Asia, Pacific and India in the DNB Maritime, and also leading the Shipping, Offshore and Energy Transition Group in the Norwegian Business Association. So, Singapore and Norway are both very important maritime hubs. They are strong in digitalisation, strong in decarbonisation and innovation. If we make reference to the Menon DNB leading maritime capitals of the world, they already remark these two capitals to follow. So today, with my two good panelists, we are going to look a little bit more into the respective maritime strategies and more importantly, see what are we doing to cooperate and what can we do more. So with that, let me introduce to my first panelist, who is Kenneth Lim. Kenneth is the Assistant Chief Executive Industry in Maritime Port Authorities of Singapore since 1st of January 2021. Kenneth has built a very strong network in the maritime Singapore industry players, including HR innovators, digitalisation amongst the shipping community, but also in the startup community. He is currently in charge of maritime strategy and policy, International Maritime Center, business capability developments, innovation, technology, and talent development. Kenneth was seconded from the Government Technology Agency in 2017 to MPA as Chief Technology Officer. Welcome, Kenneth.
Thank you so much, Cristina, for your kind words, and good afternoon and good morning to all our audience from Norway, Singapore, and the rest of the world. I'm very delighted to be in this panel. I look forward to our great discussion later. I'll pass back the time to Cristina. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. It's a pleasure. And then my other panelist is Sveinung Oftedal, and he's a Special Director in the Norwegian Ministry of Climate and Environment. And Sveinung, for the last 2 decades, has been instrumental in actually developing the Norwegian green policies in shipping, as well as negotiating the IMO environmental framework for shipping. During the last 5 years, he's actually chair of the working group on reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. And as you can imagine, he has a very important role in the global efforts to decarbonize the international shipping. Very warm welcome, Sveinung.
Thank you, Cristina, and hello to Kenneth, and good afternoon to everybody in Singapore. I'm happy to be here with you and look forward to our conversation today. Back to you, Cristina.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Before digging into the conversation, I would like to thank BW LPG, the world's largest owners and operator of very large gas carriers, delivering cleaner energy to world markets, for sponsoring today's panel.
Delivering energy, returning value to our shareholders, powering a cleaner energy future. This is what BW LPG is about. For over 50 years, BW LPG has been shipping cleaner burning LPG to world markets, safely and sustainably. And through the years, our presence in Singapore and Norway has grown from strength to strength. We tap into collegiate and collaborative networks in the world's leading maritime capitals and benefit from the creative exchange of ideas. We embrace pioneering technology to decarbonize. We explore innovative solutions to increase operational efficiency. And we digitalize our fleet and offices to improve voyage optimization. At BW LPG, we deliver cleaner energy the world needs today. And with human ingenuity and global cooperation, we will work together to find solutions for tomorrow. Welcome to today's panel.
So let's start. And I think to warm up things a little bit, I think it would be very interesting for the audience and myself to understand a little bit more about the key elements of the maritime strategies of both Norway and Singapore. Maybe let's start with Norway. Sveinung, could you please share with us some insights about your plans in Norway?
Thank you, Cristina. I'm delighted to do so. More than ever, the maritime strategy of Norway builds upon the main challenges in society. We need to resolve the main environmental challenges, in particular the climate crisis. Industries and companies will need to produce products and services which creates a climate-neutral society. Therefore, our maritime strategy is characterized by two words: greener and smarter. In popular terms, and also in business terms, I will say that it is smart to go green, and you cannot go green without being smart. So, what does the main pillars in our maritime strategy contain? On the green side, let's start now on the domestic arena. First, we have established an emission reduction target. Domestic shipping shall reduce CO2 emissions by 50% by 2030. Second, we have a tailor-made approach, meaning that we shall introduce low and zero emission solutions in all ship segments: offshore supply vessels, cargo vessels, ferries, high-speed passenger vessels, and so on. Third, we constantly develop the needed tools, such as requirements, carbon tax, support schemes, and public-private partnerships. Further, we will update our plan for making sustainable, climate-friendly fuels available for shipping. Our early market for zero-emission shipping will pave the way for the many companies which produce technologies and solutions for zero-emission shipping. Those companies need to have an early market. The domestic market in Norway is such a market, and we will nourish the complete Norwegian maritime cluster. And finally, on the domestic arena, the government toolbox invest in R&D, pilots and demonstration project, as well as the commercial phase. Let's now move on to the international arena. We are an international partner for green shipping. Our main approach is to succeed on an ambitious IMO framework. We also cooperate actively with partners taking the lead, such as Singapore, and we assist developing countries in their green transition. Let's move on to the second pillar, going from the green issue then to the smart issue, digitalisation. This is an integrated part of our maritime policy, but the topic is not that much in the public domain. Of course, the big headlines is now the climate headlines, but the digitalisation is a very important part of our maritime strategy. In all aspects, digitalisation will be an integrated part of the transition shipping has to enter into. And finally, the third pillar, the Norwegian flag. The Norwegian flag shall be a quality flag. Our flag shall be a strong flag, and our maritime authority need to be a competent partner for our owners flying the flag of Norway. And then I turn back to you, Cristina.
Thank you so much, Sveinung. I really loved how you put it. It's smart to go green, and you cannot green without doing it smartly, or something along those lines. I'm going to have to copy you that one, but I will quote you. Thank you so much. Kenneth, what about Singapore? Can you please share with us what are the key elements of Singapore maritime strategy?
Thank you, Cristina and Sveinung, for your sharing. I learned a lot. Maybe for Singapore, I set the backdrop first, that Singapore is a transshipment hub. So we have last year we do about 37.2 million TEUs of a transshipment hub. But besides the container shipping that comes to Singapore, we have also bulk and tankers who also come to Singapore. So This is a bunkering hub, fifth largest ship registry, and also a vibrant international maritime center. So in that context, our strategy for maritime is into three groupings. One is connectivity, right? So in terms of connectivity, we want to make sure that we have strengthened our physical connectivity to the rest of the world, because we believe that in terms of open global standards for trading and as well as supply chain, right? So in that regard, for physical connectivity, we have developed a next generation port 2030 blueprint to guide us in developing our next generation of port. In terms of connectivity, besides physical connectivity, is also digital connectivity. And maybe later on, I'll describe more about our digital initiatives. And also, there's also this connectivity among the ecosystem. So especially in the International Maritime Center in Singapore, we need to connect the various ship owners, ship operators, ship managers, brokers. You have insurance, legal, finance. So there's a big of companies in Singapore, and we need to put in effort and investment to nurture this ecosystem. So we do have a INC 2030 roadmap to guide us in developing this ecosystem. So connectivity to us is a very important strategy in making sure that Singapore remain relevant to the rest and global shipping. Second pillar is innovation. So innovation, as Stefan said, the smart, the green, these are all elements of innovation. Under the innovation pillar, we kind of think of things. First is really the roadmaps as well as the playbook. So we do have a R&D, Maritime R&D Roadmap 2030, which kinds of let us know where are all the end state in which we want to, or the capabilities that we need to develop in the next decade. And based on the capabilities that we need to develop, how then we can put in the R&D dollars and startup communities, the tech providers to help us to augment this and develop our capabilities. So in that regard, we believe in churning out a lot of publications, playbook, guidebook, our maritime industry partners to share and to also collaborate in order to build up these capabilities. Besides the capabilities and the roadmap is the circle of digital innovators that we built up. It is the network of people coming together to think about what are the new technologies, innovation that can happen. Like, in 3D printing, in drone delivery, these are all important and emerging capabilities that we need the industry to work with us. As a regulator, we can put in and open up the regulatory sandbox, but as the tech players, they need to bring out the technology and from the shipping industry to create the demand. So this tripartite relationship is key in embracing this innovation. In terms of solvers, we emphasize a lot. We want to make Singapore a conducive environment for our solver community, whether they are the R&D researcher, the startup, and the students as well. So we do have initiatives that later on I can share more about how we bring all these solver community together. And all these three is under the pillar of innovation. Last but not least, I have to say that the third important strategy pillar for us is talent development. So in this whole global shipping, I think talent development is an important area, both for the seafarers as well as the onshore jobs. So whether for seafarers, how they can be operating safely, how they can make use of newer technology, how we can think about the job redesign in many of the roles, whether they are seafaring or onshore job. We also want to make sure that we are able to attract diversities of talent into shipping industry, both Singapore as well as globally. So attraction as a strategy, nurturing them, I think is also important, how we can put in the right mechanism, initiative to nurture the maritime workforce, as well as to transform, because based on the trends and observation that we talk to the industry, things are changing. Could be because of sustainability, it could be of digitalization, jobs and roles could be changed. And therefore, transformation of the workplace and the workforce will be one of the key strategies that we're going to take under the talent. So in summary, we kind of like group all the various initiatives and strategies under these three pillars of connectivity, innovation, and talent. Back to you, Cristina.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. I certainly have a lot of questions to both of you, but I'm sure that the audience also has it. So please use the chat box and post your questions, and I will try to follow up and address them later on the conversation. Thank you so much. It's really inspiring, and I'm really glad that both Norway and Singapore are taking such an important lead in the maritime industry. So, but I'm sure that you're not starting from scratch. You have had these, strategies for several years now. So, Sveinung, can you please maybe share with us some of the concrete examples that are already ongoing and that will hopefully support a successful implementation of the Norwegian maritime strategy?
Thank you, Cristina, and thank you for asking that question, because it's really important. You cannot just talk about ideas and plans, you also need to see it happening in real life. So today, many are talking about zero-emission vessels, but if you want to see them on the water in operation, come to Norway. We have actually 100 zero-emission vessels in operation in Norway. And we have approximately 50, which is mature plans or in the order book. And then we have quite many projects, which is then in the pipeline. And these projects is both when it comes to electrification, which you can see in the ferry sector, and which also is in all ship segments. Who is then planning a ship today without planning for energy management, without having a battery installed? We are also entering into the hydrogen era. So we have already now a hydrogen-powered ferry in operation, and we are to build several more. And we are going to supply them with green hydrogen from Norway. And we also have ammonia-based projects ongoing. Clearly, for international shipping, you need to have then ocean-going ships also in zero and low emission solutions. We haven't come that far yet on that segment, but we are planning it. We are looking into then how ammonia can be used on ocean-going ships. So it is actually pilot projects looking into that now. For instance, Grieg Maritime in Bergen is looking into how they can operate their cargo vessels on ammonia in their transatlantic operation. And finally, now the famous Yara Birkeland, which is a fully electric zero-emission autonomous vessel, is now on the water in operation. And when it came to Norway, the Prime Minister was there, and it is really an important demonstration project, which is showing that it is really possible. So we have a start, and we will continue. That is the important part. When we have said we will reduce our emissions by 30%, it doesn't come by itself. You need to do a job. Companies need to do a job. The government needs to do a job. So we have started, and we will continue. Come to Norway and have a look. Back to you, Cristina.
Thank you so much, Sveinung. I really look forward actually to go to Norway very soon. And I've seen some of the projects myself, and it's really inspiring and exciting to see them to life. But Singapore is also doing a lot of things. And I think, Kenneth, if you could please share with us some of these projects.
Thank you, Cristina. And I think both Norway and Singapore are all building up all these projects, initiatives to build up the capabilities of the global ship. So let me cite some examples and initiatives that Singapore has embarked. As I go along the connectivity, innovation, and talent pillar, under the connectivity, as I mentioned earlier, To implement those strategies, the Tuas port is our going to be the largest integrated transshipment port. As I said, last year we do about 37.2 million TEU for container transshipment. The Tuas port is built with a capacity of 65 million TEU. So that is an ongoing project. This year you will see it going to operationalize, and then there will be a lot more initiative that can be put inside there. In fact, our many of our stakeholders know that to build a new port, you can put in all the various R&D and innovation capabilities into it. In fact, that is once in a lifetime. Yeah. In terms of digital initiatives are like Digital Port at SG, where we allow ship clearance, pre-departure, and of course a port clearance system to be done in a single window. I think that's important, and we are also building up the API so that we can have a more integrated. Then between Singapore and the other ports, we kind of work together with TradeLands, Port of Rotterdam, and and other like-minded partners like Calista, PSA, to talk about Digital Ocean, which is a set of APIs that can allow digital connectivity. In terms of ecosystem, I think that is where we together industry partners, industry leaders together to connect the ecosystem together. In fact, Singapore Maritime Week is always an annual event in which we bring all industry partners together. This year, Singapore Maritime Week will happen on the 4th to 8th of April. That is all about connectivity. Under the innovation, actually a couple of examples. In the digital front, we actually have playbook, digital maritime digitalization playbook, as well as the digital acceleration index to help companies to measure how mature is their digital maturity. Because you need to kind of like, it's like a healthcare, it's like a health program, right? First, you need to baseline where you are now, and then chart out the roadmap to see where you want to be, whether you want to improve on operation excellence, or you want to improve in business engagement, or you want to improve in your business insight. It depends on where you want to start, but you want to build out that capability. So the digitalization playbook will help. And then we put in the various schemes, the funding schemes, and the support scheme to support companies in doing that. We mentioned about the Circle of Digital Innovators. This is some of the examples. And for solvers, we have Singapore Maritime Institute, Singapore Maritime Foundation, who help us to bring the talent, the young graduates, the students, researchers together to solve some of the maritime challenges that is being solicited. Lastly, in terms of talent, some of the initiatives are the global internship program for students attached to companies so that they can get a flavor of what shipping is all about. There's also a management associate to support companies to groom their new talent, as well as maritime leadership program, which allows the companies to groom their successor in terms of management. And we kind of bring them all together into one common place for 3 weeks of training so that they have networking as well as exposure in terms of leadership, innovation, decarbonization. And also suffice to say that the Global Center for Maritime Decarbonization is one big initiative in which we work, industry as well as government, putting in together 120 million to chart out the pathway for the alternate fuel for the industry as well. So that is an ongoing initiative that maybe we can share more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kenneth, and hold that thought on the Global Center for Maritime Decarbonization, because I will pick your brains on that one later. And I'm really glad as well to hear, to be honest, that you're working towards talent, because it's so important that we engage the next generations in this actually beautiful industry. But let's take a pause, and I would like to thank to our sponsor, ABB, for paving the way to a zero emission and sustainable marine industry, providing greater efficiency and reliability to ship owners and preparing vessels to meet the demands on tomorrow.
The marine industry is rapidly evolving. ABB is at the forefront of this evolution. Electric, digital, and connected solutions are redefining shipping, offering dramatic gains in efficiency, safety, and sustainability. With electrification as a key enabler, digital and connected solutions give crews the right tools to monitor and optimize vessel efficiency, so data-driven decisions can be made anytime, anywhere. This is a fundamental step on a journey towards autonomous operations. With an integrated bridge-to-propeller system delivered by a single vendor, installation and lifecycle support are simpler and more flexible, both for new and existing vessels, creating a safer, more efficient, more sustainable future.
So it was really insightful what you have shared so far. Thank you so much. Again, encouragement to the audience to write your comments, write your questions, and we can have a look at them a bit later. Yeah, looking at the men on DNB leading maritime capitals of the world report. I was very glad to see that both Singapore and Oslo, as the capital of Norway, were scoring very high in maritime technology. I would be really interesting to hear from you some of the key components and examples that you think have contributed to being ahead of the curve. Maybe Kenneth, you can start this time.
Let me try. Thanks, Cristina, and thank you. I was actually, this book on the leading maritime city report is a book that I now put on my desk to make sure I keep reminding myself. First of all, I want to thank you. Yeah, that's right. I want to thank our industry partners, agencies. Together, we this is an accolade of all the efforts that is happening. Actually, it is across all the various cities that we collaborate, but also there's a concentration of some of the capabilities in different cities, right? And we can learn from each other through such a benchmark report. So for Singapore, I think we're glad that we are in the overall ranking #1 position. In here, there is 5 pillars in the Mellon report, right? Whether it's in shipping, finance and law, maritime tech, port and logistics, and attractiveness and competitiveness. I think these are all the various pillars that many of our audience today will be familiar. I think at different pillars, we do well. Some we need to learn more, we need to improve better. So with the end goal that actually with all these capabilities, companies who are residing in Norway, in Singapore, in other cities, actually then benefit, and based on what their company's goal and intention, actually they can actually benefit from such capabilities that is being nurtured in the city. I think for us, as I described the strategies in broad areas of connectivity, innovation, and talent, companies in Singapore actually, we are very glad that they work with us in all these 3 areas, putting in their people, putting in their resources, contributing to projects, and also their talent, and together to build up a vibrant ecosystem. I think, to me, that idea about tripartite collaboration between the industry, the innovators, as well as the government is very important to me, and that to me is a very would say important criteria in which we can work together and collaborate, because through that everyone can come to the table. We may not need to agree on everything, but coming to the table and say, let's find out what is it about this new technology, this new concept of operation, these new trends that are facing in the global shipping, whether it is for the digitalisation of talent. We need to solve this global challenge together, because it is a challenge that we all need to work together, because in the whole scheme of things, we have other sectors that we need to serve. We need to serve the supply chain, value chain. You have upstream shippers, you got the consignees, you got many other sectors that depends on shipping to move the goods across the world. So therefore, our industry together, we need to work hard to make sure that we deliver the best value, and either through the innovation, decarbonization, supply chain resiliency, and talent capability, we can then prepare ourselves, our workforce, and our role in the global supply chain. Yeah. So maybe I pause here and hand back the time to you, Cristina.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kenneth. Very insightful. And I look forward to hearing from Norway and Sveinung. What is Norway doing to staying ahead of the curve when it comes to maritime technology?
Thank you. Thank you, Cristina. I try again. Thank you, Cristina. And first, I have to say that I really admire what Singapore has done and are doing in order to create a sustainable maritime industry. So it's great to see. The example of Singapore is really great for us to see. Second, it's also interesting to see that two cities located in totally different parts of the world can be a maritime hub. It's quite interesting. So obviously we have something in common. Now, in the case of Norway, the easy answer is, well, look into our history, our tradition. Yes, that helps, but that is not creating the answer of today. We have, of course, a long history with the ocean as a neighbor, which has forced us out to establish a maritime industry. But in order to be that in place today, I will point towards several issues. One is the creative mindset, which has developed the solution for shipping through decades, and that is still present. And then it is the interaction with the other ocean industries, because the maritime industry is not working in isolation. It is integrated with the other ocean industry, especially the energy sector. And that is a very important part, which you can find in Oslo. And then we have, throughout several years, built the various parts of shipping. It is located in Oslo. You can find everything. You can find finance. You can find shipping companies. You can find DNV. You can find insurers. You can find brokers. You can find everybody. So if you are located in Oslo, you are at the right place to find partners. Also, it is another important point in these days. You have stable political conditions. Yes, sometimes we change governments, but all governments are very firm on supporting the maritime industry. So it is a very stable and secure part of the world, which is very important for companies to further develop. You need to plan in long term, and I think you can find that in Singapore. You can find that in Norway. Stable conditions is very important these days. And then the final point I want to say is that in Norway, we like sports. We like to compete. And in order to be a maritime hub, in order to win when it comes to business as well, you need to look forward, and you need to do the elements which makes you a winner. So I think that is in the blood of Norway. And the final element, we have an international nature, because that is needed in the maritime industry. That is also in the nature of Norway as a country. We are looking out to the rest of the world, and that is a very important for Oslo to be a maritime hub as well. I think I stop there. Back to you, Cristina.
Thank you so much, Sveinung, and very interesting points. And I was just I want to echo the importance of that ecosystem, which Kenneth was also mentioning, right? Having all the stakeholders in the maritime industry that you need. It's quite unique, and I'm very glad to see that both Singapore and Norway are taking advantage of that one. I'm going to stay with you, Sveinung, and I would like to ask you a question on collaboration. Which is the key topic, right, of today between the two countries. And I would like to hear your views on whether are we collaborating, and maybe also, are we collaborating enough?
Thank you, Cristina. Not enough. I've been working with the international issues in shipping for close to 30 years. I'm starting to gain some age, and all these years I've been cooperating on the government arena with Singapore, and that has been a very important part of my work. But when I see the challenging times we are under now, I can see that the need for our closer cooperation is clearly there. And I think the willingness from both Singapore and Norway is there. And I think we are on several arenas together. Of course, it is the International Maritime Organization, but then we have several initiatives like the Zero Emission Shipping Mission, which is an R&D forum where both Singapore is and Norway is, and we share ideas. And it is also on the business arena. We have, as we have been touching upon, this private-public partnership in Norway, and you have the Decarbonisation Center in Singapore. I think that those centers should link. And I think it is to the benefit of both Norwegian players and Singapore players. Yes, I think the solutions for global shipping lies very much about on closer Singapore-Norwegian cooperation. And back to you, Cristina.
Thank you so much, Sveinung. I would like to hear from you, Kenneth, your view of how are we doing in that cooperation and can we do more of?
Thank you, Cristina. And I really agree with Sveinung on the point that you made about we can do more. But if I may use the word connectivity between our two countries, I think there are at different, maybe at three tiers, three levels or three tiers, I would say. First is, importantly, is that the businesses are actually collaborating between the two countries. Businesses play, in my view, a very important role because when there is businesses, it means there is, how do we, in Singapore, we always say it's life and livelihoods, right? So when you have businesses connecting, actually it kind of enhances life and also livelihoods. So, both Singapore companies like Sembcorp, like Gravifloat actually have set up in Norway, right? They are working there, serving the stakeholders and the consumers there. Likewise, of course, there are Norwegian companies that actually are in Singapore, whether it's like Cristina, DMV, you got the Cleverness, you got many other. G2 Ocean just recently set up in Singapore as well. You got many examples that, in fact, the Norwegian Business Association in Singapore actually would know that there are many members, and maybe there are more members now, which is, of course, a very happy message for me. These businesses actually connect the two communities, right? Because talent will flow, talent connect to each other. They also bring about the different ideas. Some ideas that is very great in Norway, they share how it's being practiced, we can actually learn. Likewise, I'm sure there are some lessons that Singapore can also offer to Norway. So I think in terms of that connection of the businesses here is a very important part. In fact, GCMD is one very good example, which is the example of the next tier, which is collaboration at the institution level, right? So GCMD, as the most recent example, as Sveinung said, must connect to Norway's counterparts. So when they are working together, sharing knowledge about the alternate fuel, decarbonization, that forms a tier in which it is producing capabilities that needs to be forthcoming, right? So I think that's an important example. In fact, way back to year 2000, right, MPA actually already have a MOU with the Research Council of Norway because we believe strongly in this innovation ecosystem connectivity. So the two research community kind of like bind together, bring forth collaboration, joint practice in which the government actually also supported It's like the one project that needs to have both Singapore and Norway element, and that the element itself then can actually showcase the collaboration between the two communities. So at the research and innovation community, there's also a linkage. And lastly, of course, at the government level between Singapore and Norway, we have great relationship. We see many things eye to eye. In fact, like as Stafflin said, he has contributed a lot in the IMO, and Singapore is very appreciative of your effort in pushing many of the topics, showing the way and the solution at the IMO level. So I think that's where Singapore will continue to support. So I think the three tiers, whether it's business, whether it's institution, whether at the government level, through the IMO, I think we have collaborated well. Definitely, we can do more, and I think it is for new ideas to come out. And when there is a new capability, a new challenge that needs to be overcome, countries come together to solve together. And the reason for doing so is because shipping is a global business, and shipping is a global operation. If Singapore is the only hub, I don't think it will succeed. If Norway is the only hub, it can't succeed. It has to be a lot of capabilities that is pervasive across the world. Global node, I think then it will make the whole global shipping very, much more valuable and meaningful as well. So I think that collaboration can be enhanced as well. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. It's really good to see that we are already collaborating a lot, and I can guarantee that the Norwegian Business Association in Singapore is really trying to encourage that more, and we are ready to be an enabler for further collaboration. So let's take a pause before going into the last part of our webinar, and I would like to thank to our sponsor Maritime. They are improving marine logistics with innovative solutions, reducing the negative impacts on the environment through carbon emissions reporting, offsetting of carbon footprints, and investments in greener trade lanes.
Marine Trans is truly global. Our staff is located in strategically located offices. We have 22 warehouses around the globe, and we deliver to more than 2,000 ports worldwide. We take care of your marine logistics, freight forwarding of ship spares, and maintenance needs to assure a more effective process and lower cost. Marine Trans is truly global with freight, by air, sea, and trucking. We are Marine Trans, the global ship spare forwarder.
Perfect. So we have had Kenneth mentioning the Global Center for Maritime Decarbonisation a couple of times, and we have the Green Shipping Program in Norway, which are such a both good examples of both private and public partnership initiatives that are actually looking into pilots, not just words, right, but actual projects. Sveinung, I would really like if you could share a little bit more your thoughts about these initiatives, what has done to Norway, and why do you believe it's a good initiative to embark on?
Thank you, Cristina. Indeed, I can do because I has been with the Green Shipping Program since the very start, and we would not have been in the place where we are in Norway without the Green Shipping Program. My ministry is contributing to the program also economically, but the most important part is that we have a lot of private partners combined with the then public authorities. So we have actually 10 public entities participating in the program. And in actually undertaking a real pilot project, because that is the first part when we're going to create the solution to investigate how you can actually develop that solution through a pilot project, bringing in the various partners, cooperating, sharing information, sharing ideas, and developing the projects is very important. And when you are going to do something new, there will always be barriers. So through these pilot projects, we have resolved several barriers. Some of these barriers are on the private arena between companies, and some of the barriers are between on the public arena. I mean, and in the interaction between the public-private arena. So you need to resolve those barriers, and through the activity in the program, we have then managed to actually realize quite many of these pilot projects into real investments, real ships. And we will continue to do that. We started then on the, let's say, domestic shipping arena, the coastal shipping. But now we are moving more into deep sea projects and going international, meaning that we are going and we will need to connect more to the Decarbonisation Center in Singapore, because that is the way we're going now. We are going from the coast of Norway to deep sea to the rest of the world. And then in finding those solutions with those partners, we need to go more internationally in the program. But the key is public-private partnership in active involvement by the partners, contributing into these projects, sharing information. Of course, there will be some company-sensitive information that will always be there. But I think it is nobody can do it alone. You need to share information and share experiences, and you need to test. So that is a little bit of the history on the green shipping program, and the program is now firmly based within the political community. It is often referred to, and it is a success story of Norway. And then I turn back to you, Cristina.
Thank you so much, Sveinung. Very, very interesting. Very briefly, Kenneth, on the Global Center for Maritime Decarbonisation, before we go and pick some of the questions from our audience.
Sure, Cristina. In fact, you will be in a better position to explain GCMD than me. But let me just give you a context of how the Global Center for Maritime Decarbonisation happened. As we are as a bunkering hub, right? So Singapore needs to look at how our bunkering hub will evolve as ships changes in size, changes in the adoption of the fuel, and of course meeting the IMO 2030, 2050 targets. So what happened then was we set up an international advisory panel, right? So, and Andres from BW chairs the advisory panel, and the panel's task is to advise the Singapore government how can Singapore play a bigger role in supporting the shipping community to decarbonize. So in many of these discussions, first is the selection of the members, right, from all over the world. And we also have the privilege of Professor Lin. She was then at the US having a sabbatical leave, and she was participating in the advisory panel. And as a result of the outcome of the advisory panel was 9 recommendations, and it was tabled to the government last April 2021, right? And in one of the recommendations, establish a center in which companies can come together to trial the different alternate fuel and to gain the lesson and be prepared. That is that recommendation happens in April. And then by then already there is a strong industry support, right? So 6 industry partners, including DNV, Sembcorp, NBAS, ONE, BHP, they all come together, 6 industry partners who are willing to come and put in their funding, not only contribution, but also the financial support. So MPA then come in and also says that, well, we also will match the funding, and we put in another 60 million. So with 120 million, the Global Center for Maritime Decarb, in short, GCMD, was established in August last year. So from the April recommendation to August, within 4 months I suppose it's the fastest establishment of a center with industry, government all coming together. And from then on, I think, with the support of the founding partners, and of course, even NBAS also supported you. I remember Prof. Lin was in this webinar together with Andres and with Cristina as well, and talking about the center. So I won't dwell on that. If there is a so-called a subtitle here, is to please refer to these previous webcasts or something like that to refer to the previous discussion. Yeah, but what I wanted to illustrate is that such a center, I mean, very much like what Sveinung was saying about the GSP, actually hinges on two things, right? One is it's actually a demonstration that the public-private partnership will be a better model in establishing such future centers, right? Because nobody knows, and no one company or the government knows what is the pathway. And the only logical way is to come together to learn and to chart out the path and to do the pilots. So that's one very good message that we want to do. And second message is that such a center must be able to generate the knowledge through the studies, right? Accelerate the deployment and become, in its own right, be some center of gravity for catalyzing and facilitating such a pathway. So you might be, in Norway, could be a lot on electrification and other centers do maybe other topics, other areas. And then through that collaboration and through that transfer of knowledge, each other can then work out together. And through that, then the government knows, all right, and then if we are doing that, then we need to start to build up such infrastructure, such capabilities. And we don't stop here. We also then need to bring in the other port authorities, right? So whether it is in Japan, whether it's in other ports, to come together, because the ships actually visit many ports. It doesn't visit just one port, as is our understanding. And therefore, we need to make sure that this is being cascaded to the wider audience. And eventually, to report back to IMO, so that at the global level, such as a center and the knowledge that is gained can be shared even to a wider audience. So I think that's how I kind of perceive the two centers collaborating and moving forward for the shipping industry.
Thank you so much, Kenneth, and then it's great that we have Sveinung here, so we can have a direct line to the IMO. But let's go to some questions from our audience. We are really running a bit out of time, but I would like to ask one to each of you. So maybe Sveinung, for you, if that's okay. We have a question on, given the current Ukraine crisis, which causes a high oil price, do you expect the maritime industry accelerating towards a green fuel?
Thank you. Thank you, Cristina. And it is a very important and timely question. And it is actually going on, this discussion now in Europe. Will this crisis, how will it affect the green transition in all industries, including shipping? What is now taking place in the EU is actually they will speed up their plans to decarbonize because of their dependency on Russian oil and gas, and they see that this is a higher risk for them, so that will speed up the plans. The challenge, though, is that when you have such an extreme pulse of changing price as you have on now oil and gas, but also electricity in Europe, the market will react with let's say how will that affect the long-term plans. So how we assume the situation is that it is now an eager to speed up the green transition rather than to delay green transition. And then you need to see that to be more specific in policies in Norway, in EU, in other parts of the world. And I don't have the full answer, simply because who can have the full answer on such a crisis? But I think everybody has realized that to be dependent on one main supplier of oil and gas is not very stable and secure, and that you need to have a sustainable transition and going into energy diversity, sustainable energy diversity for the future. Back to you, Cristina.
Thank you so much, Sveinung, and I agree. I mean, it's so difficult, but at least we know what they are discussing. So thank you so much. Let's go to another one. Maybe for you, Kenneth, briefly. The audience is asking, would love to hear more about the pilots for ammonia-based vessels. Is this an area where we see, export potential for Norwegian businesses? What do you think?
Yeah, thanks, Cristina, on the ammonia fuel. For ammonia fuel, I think that is one of the, if we ask the industry, is ammonia going to be the fuel? And everyone said, no, we are just, still learning, finding the different pathway of the different alternate fuel. So we have seen quite a strong interest in ammonia. And so if we want to try out ammonia, two things that needs to happen, right? On the ship itself, and therefore I think there's of course the consortiums that is now trying to design a ship that actually will have dual fuel engine, taking ammonia, be able to design that. I think that's the ship part. On land, there must be infrastructure of the ammonia tanks and the storage part. And then there must be the bunker supply chain that must also happen from the source. How do you get the fuel? And how do you then kind of do the bunkering in the port safely? Now, this is where then the three parts have to come in together. And this is where Singapore wants to make sure that we have set up the regulatory sandbox to allow such a trial to happen, such that the fuel be able to carry, go into storage infrastructure. From infrastructure, how do you pass it on to the bunker operators, be able to take this to the ship and to do the bunkering safely. So I think this whole aspects, as well as monitoring, tracking the emission, these are all various important elements that we need to trial. And I think that is where it's exciting. If different players have different solutions, then we could actually set up trials to allow such trials of such solution, so that different ship operators, ship managers, bunker operators, they can also learn through this whole process what they must build up in terms of capabilities, investment, as well as assets, such that they can get themselves ready for ammonia vessels. And I think this, if you replace ammonia with fuel X, Y, Z, that could also be a model in which we need to work on, although the details of how do you treat fuel X, fuel Y, fuel Z could be very, very different because of the storage temperatures, handling, operating procedures, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Back to you, Cristina. Thanks.
Well, I mean, it's incredible. We have come to an end. Thank you so much to Kenneth and Sveinung for those insights. I would love to continue the conversation with both of you. Hopefully, sometime soon we can do that face to face. So just to wrap up, I mean, I think both countries are moving in the same direction, greener, smarter. It's smart to go green, and you cannot green if you don't do it smartly. We need connectivity, innovation, we need the ecosystem, and certainly we need the talent. With that, I would really like to thank the audience. I mean, again, the panelists, the audience, thank you for your questions. I hope that you have enjoyed it, and I hope that you will be able to join us in our next Insight panels, and most of all, also in the Singapore Norway Innovation Conference, which we will talk a lot about collaboration between both countries again, which will happen 1st and 2nd of November. And of course, we cannot close this without thanking our co-host, Innovation Norway, thanking our partners, ABB, BWLPG, Hog LNG, LEF agencies, and Marine Trans, and Storm Geo, and of course, our partners, the Norwegian Embassy in Singapore, Maritime Port Authorities, the Norwegian Maritime Authority, the Singapore Norway Chamber of Commerce, and the Norwegian Ship Owners Association. Thank you so much, everyone. Warm welcome to following our offers in nbas.org.sg. Take care and hope to see you soon. Bye.